Hi there. In this demo session, we're going to be concentrating on progressive delivery. Specifically, we're going to talk about the AB deployment, where we're going to deliver our version A to our EKS USD server, and we're going to deliver version B to our AKS Southeast Asia. Other deployment methods we've got are Highlander, Blue-Green, Canary, and Rolling Ramped. So with that said, let's return to our CAPE dashboard. And let's select our deployments on the left-hand side and then deployment strategies. So next we're going to select our AB deployment, where we'll click Create Deployment. Let's enter our strategy name, which is going to be AB Split. We're going to enter our description, which is going to be our AB test, and our application, which is going to be our web shop. So let's click Next, and we'll select our AB strategy. We've got two choices here. We've got deploy into different namespaces, where we select a namespace for A and a namespace for B, and we select a branch for A and a branch for B, and we place them both on the same server. For our scenario today, we're going to look at deploy to different clusters. So for A, we're going to select our EKS. For B, we're going to select our AKS. We're going to have our main branch on our A server, and we're going to have our AB split branch on our B server. And we're going to set our name to web shop, and you'll notice this is mirrored for B, but we do have the option here to enter a separate one. So let's move on to our next screen, where we have some recommended actions. First of all, they come up for A. We'll have the same options for B, so I'll just walk through these once. So first of all, we have a pre-flight test, where you can check for the existence of a item, whether it's Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, that are already deployed in a separate namespace on the cluster. Then we've got our dry run, which allows you to execute a dry run in server mode, and that will execute on each of the servers. In this case, it'll be A. If we click it on B, it'll be the B server. Then we have our deployment arguments. Now, our deployment arguments give us the ability to add a variable. So, for example, I could set HTTP port, and maybe set that to 443, and that will be applied to the cluster here. So that will go into the manifest or chart and set that value for you. So I'm not going to use that, so I'll take that out. We have our estimate time and size, which is primarily for bandwidth constrained and edge sites, where we can set a bandwidth, execute, and get an estimate of how long it's going to take to deploy our action based on the size of the images. And finally, we have post-deployment actions, which allow you to execute after the deployment is completed with either webhook or SSH. So with that, we'll click Next. Again, we have the same options for B, and then Next. And finally, we have a deployment priority, where when there's a number of deployments that are all trying to go on at the same time, then the backend system will priority queue these. So here we see our EKS server. We can see that nothing's currently deployed, and our AKS server. And again, we have nothing deployed. So let's create our deployment, and let's return back to our dashboard. So now we can see our dashboard's updated. We now have 4 clusters, 3 deployments. We can see in the deployments pane here, we have our A version and we have our B version. And if we refresh the screen, we can see that we have a blue cat on our EKS server. And our B version, we can see that we have our red cat on our AKS server. Thank you for watching this demo, and I hope it was useful in giving you a good sense of how CAPE helps developers and teams be more efficient and effective when it comes to deploying applications on Kubernetes. For more resources on CAPE, visit cape.sh/start-here or book a meeting with our experts through the email address shown on screen.